So welcome back to Beyond Mortgage. I am really excited to have an old industry friend, and I don't mean old by age, but a long time. We go back at least 30 years. We just determined. She's been in the industry a long time. She's my guest today, Jodee Brydges. Jodee has over 30 years in the mortgage industry. She wouldn't tell me exactly how many over, but um, she definitely does not look like she's been in the business for over 30 years. She's been truly passionate about making a difference in her clients' portfolios. She's all about education in all aspects of the mortgage business and managing their overall debt. She's the creator of Point Pro, a turnkey seminar package available to loan originators. She's a national speaker. She's an author of a book called Digging Out. It's a practical guide to getting out of debt and paving a path to a secure financial future. We'll be digging into that a little bit. But welcome, Jodee.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to
Abs-
be here and great to reconnect.
Yeah, we've talked about you've got a place up in Truckee and I've got a place up in Tahoe. We've talked about trying to connect the bunch and maybe do some skiing and stuff. So we got to do that this year.
We have to this year.
Well, so as you know, the majority of our listeners are loan officers and real estate agents. So maybe you could start off giving a little bit of your background, how you were drawn to the mortgage industry, and then we'll get into how you've survived this long. You've seen all everything that's occurred in the industry. You've seen the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, all the fears and changes. So let's start getting into that. But maybe you could introduce yourself and how you got into the industry and your path to where you are today.
So I started the industry with working in retail banking straight out of high school and while I was attending college. I would go to college in the evening, work at a bank during the day, and after 5 years of retail banking, by default of just helping clients obtain equity lines of credit, I moved into the mortgage lending side and finished college, and here I am today. And I certainly have seen a lot in the 3 decades from, being just an originator, being new, like some of the people who will be listening today, working with a lot of seasoned professionals, people like you over the years, and learning and growing from other professionals in the industry, to just climbing the ladder of, being a broker of record, owning my own company at one point, merging my company during the fall of the 2008 economic crisis. I had a daughter in 2007, and I decided to re-look at life and kind of pull things back a little bit. That's when I joined RPM, and being a speaker and helping educate my clients and other professionals in the industry, I would say has been pretty much my passion from day one, recognizing that people need guidance on basic financial literacy topics. And you don't have to get big with it, but looking at an application a little bit differently, helping clients grow financially has been, I would say, my pillar and my niche in the industry to grow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you had a child, you said in 2009?
2007.
2007. Yeah. Okay. So that has a way of telling you what's really important, and having a child and a family, and that focus when you're been on such a ride. In 2007, you were kind of just completing an amazing ride with refinances, the purchase market hot, and in 2007 is, we know, when we started to see some change for the collapse of 2008. So during that process, you saw, like you said, a lot of your customers struggling with too much debt and poor disciplines, and you wrote a book. And your book is really all about helping people, inspiring people that there is another solution. There is a way. can you share with us the kind of the motivation behind the book? And I mean, it's having a great impact, I'm sure, on all of its readers. It's got great reviews. Um, Tell us a little bit about that.
So when I was on the road speaking, one of my presentations was about debt and teaching loan originators how to look at a loan application differently, how to dissect the credit report and see if there's an opportunity to help clients reset financially. And that was the pillar of what really got me into the speaking and developing Point Pro, was creating this presentation for originators. When '08 hit, I had always wanted to write a book about just a basic step-by-step guide for clients, from organizing documents to learning how to identify interest rates on costly debt, how to develop a plan to trim expenses and pay off debt. And finally, 2 years ago, I actually started doing research again. So this book was literally a goal for over 10 years. Scary, but it was. And 2 years ago, I started looking at credit reports with my clients, and I saw a trend of credit card debt increasing, student loan debt increasing, car payments increasing. And that prompted me to further reset and research, how is the world coming around? Are a lot of people in debt again? And frankly, it put me in a position of looking at it very similar to '08, of we are getting to a crisis mode again, and credit card debt is becoming an epidemic. People are so quick to have the instant gratification to charge that they're building these enormous debt levels, but they're not paying it off. And, you know, when you do research on financial stress, it's terrible what people go through. They lose sleep, they are absent from work because of the stress that it causes. And that's what created the push for me to, it's time to write this book. Then COVID hit, and it was, you know, it's almost like you could see a train coming, but you didn't know which train was pulling into the station yet.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a financial crisis with the credit card companies. And lo and behold, it became a pandemic. But you could feel something brewing because people were just living beyond their means. And you could see balance was out of sort with a lot of clients. And so I launched it and had a successful launch. And a lot of originators that I'm not in the marketplace of have actually purchased this book, and they give it as closing gifts, which has been such a huge compliment to me as an author. And I too give it to clients because it literally is your basic financial literacy that's not taught in schools.
Wow. Wow. So what are your thoughts about COVID now? That it seems to me like people are spending as much as they ever have, at least the people that can spend. When you try to order things, and we talked a little bit about housing up here around the lake and in Truckee, there's nothing available, and prices have increased, sales have increased, at least in the Lake Tahoe region, 80%, which is unheard of. Are you seeing people still building debt as opposed to, you know, having the staying power if this pandemic lasts much longer?
I am definitely seeing people incurring a lot of debt. Credit cards are still very high on applications, and it's a great opportunity for originators right now. With rates as low as they are, do your clients a favor, analyze their credit reports, and do a cash out refi and help them reset financially. There's that aspect. And then I'm also seeing the aspect, to your point, Dan, of people are panicking and feeling like they have to buy that vacation home now. And that is why the Tahoe region is on fire. People are buying things sight unseen. I was working with a client the other day, and back in '08, they had 2 loan modifications. They filed bankruptcy, and they're in the Tahoe market, and they're pushing the envelope to the absolute end of where they can go with buying up there. And I've had the conversation 50 ways, you know, sideways, upside down, of try to scale back a bit. But I think COVID is causing such and anxiety with people that they're going to be stuck in their homes. They're not going to be able to travel. My fear for people is be that, and with your clients, you kind of have to have the difficult conversation with clients and help them see financially where they need to pivot, because we don't want people to get into trouble again. And that's kind of the feel that I'm feeling again, is people are really panic buying. And you have a lot of professionals who can afford it, but then you also have a lot of people who are counting on rental income to get into that market. And, you know, we're in purple and Truckee again. If we go into complete shutdown, that's going to waver how much you're going to make on that investment property too, which people need to take into consideration, because early COVID, there was no Airbnb. You couldn't rent a house in Tahoe.
Right.
And if we get there again, that could create a lot of financial pressure on people who count on that income, especially during ski season, which is the peak.
Yeah, we've seen it. I mean, there's been so many markets where it feels like things are going to move and go up forever. I mean, the whole dot-com phenomena in 2000, it just seemed like the market was going to continue to rise, and people got demolished financially. In 2008, they overextended and got into loans that they never should have, and we saw a collapse in real estate prices that, you know, put a lot of people into foreclosure and you know, deep debt. Well, right now the mindset is very similar in that, um, you know, people are buying thinking that I better buy now, it's going to go up. We know, I couldn't tell you if it's next week. It's probably not going to be next week. It's probably not going to be the first half of next year by all the forecasts we look at, but some point out there a little bit, we're going to see a correction. We're going to see prices first flatten out, then start to decline. Then everybody's going to be in a panic like they need to sell, and it's going to cause things to drop. And here we go again. And that's when people that purchase things that they shouldn't have end up really hurting themselves and their families. So yeah, I think your advice is wise. I think you need to have these tough conversations about the what ifs. If property values go down, they're going to come back up again. But during that downtime, are you able to continue to make payments? What's the risk of losing your income? And just look at that whole picture kind of on the dark side, as opposed to where it's all great, you know, in the moment. So kudos to you. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So you said, you know, you had a goal to write a book for 10 years. And a couple of years ago, you finally did. What was? I'm going through the same thing. So what was that that point that caused you to say, okay, I'm doing it now, instead of it being on the list? And then you started. What were your disciplines to get it done? Was it, you know, getting up in the morning and writing? Was it in the evening? I mean, how did you go about getting it done?
So two things I did differently. I had laid out the content and the chapters, and I had that piece done for a couple of years. What really sparked my fire was when I did research and found that credit card debt was reaching levels that were higher than what we saw in 2008.
Okay.
So that really pushed me to say it's time, because student loan debt is at the highest level in history, and credit card debt. Then it fell into auto loans. And then I looked a little bit closer at applications to see if this was what you would see across all boards with all income levels. And that's what I was seeing. So that's what sparked the fire. To stay motivated and to stick to a plan, I hired a coach, and I had him hold me accountable to make sure that I was writing, constantly working on it. I'm disciplined as a human being as it is, but when it comes to writing a book, it's very intimidating. It's vulnerability, because it's your words, it's your expertise, and you're saying, I'm going to put this out into a marketplace now. So, you know, that part can kind of freeze you into fear of, are people going to read it? Are they going to find this helpful? And you have to get beyond that mindset to keep pushing through. So I hired a coach.
Was it a writing coach?
No, he was just a personal coach to say, okay, I need you. And he's more of a life coach.
Yeah.
Yes. And I met with him once a week, and I had to give him, here's what I'm doing, here's what I've done, here's the research, from every aspect. And I just worked on it daily. So I set a writing schedule. My production definitely dropped that year because I was so focused on getting this done. But it was a quiet year in the mortgage industry that year as well. So it didn't really matter. Refis weren't crazy. It was kind of the perfect opportunity to do it. And my writing schedule was 2 hours a day. And there were days that literally I would sit at the computer and stare at it. I couldn't, the hardest part is the writer's block, when you just can't formulate what's in your mind to get it onto paper. And I would just work through it. And
was it 2 hours of being broken up, or was it 2 hours straight?
I would do an hour and then take a break and then an hour back.
Okay.
Because I would do it in the morning because I'm such a morning person as it is. I would get up, meditate, work out, and go straight into the writing mode.
Okay. And now how long did it take you to write the book?
Email.
How long did it take?
It took from, I hired the coach in June, and by November, it was in the marketplace. And my goal was to have it launched by Christmas 2 years ago.
Wow. Congratulations. That is so,
Thank you.
so awesome. That's probably a goal that makes you feel really good. I mean, sometimes we take advantage in the mortgage industry when we set goals of production, or we set goals of our, health, and achieve them, we feel good. But when there's something that's out of your comfort zone, a little bit, like writing a book or, something else, it feels a lot better achieving it. So I know, awesome achievement. So awesome.
Thank you.
So like we talked about from the beginning, you've been in the business a long time. Are there any major mistakes or failures that just jump to mind that you experienced, any type of setbacks that you could think of, but more importantly, how you managed through it and come out on the other side? Because I'm seeing that loan officers now are starting to experience some failure right now, and so much business, other things in their life are starting to fall apart. But does anything come to mind?
I would say that in the peak of probably '06, when I started speaking, life balance got a little bit squirrely with me, which I didn't have my daughter then. I was married, and life was a lot different than it is today. I was younger, and I feel like I put so much into my career with traveling as much as I did on the road, being gone for extended periods of time. I really was motivated more from I'm going to say the ego perspective of, it was so exciting for me to get on stage and see people excited to see you. And it's a wonderful feeling, but the shift that I have felt in this, and I would say even to originators today, if you're not a speaker, times like this can create huge ego because you're making a lot of money. It comes really, really easy. And stay humble and keep your feet on the ground, because it's not a good feeling when you rely on that. Your purpose needs to be for the better of everybody. And mine was, but I also felt a lot of pull on that ego side, because I'm not going to lie, it's pretty exciting when you get on a stage at Sales Mastery and there are 2,500 people in the audience.
Sure.
I was younger, and looking at it from a person now being over 50 and having a lot more life skills, I approach things so differently, and nothing is by script anymore. It's kind of like a conversation you and I are having. I think it's so much more fluid, and just keep your feet on the ground and keep your balance, because so many people they have families in our industry. And part of the reason we get into this industry is for life balance. Maintain that. Even in this crazy market, go quality over quantity if you can. If it financially fits your need, I would recommend it, because when you go deep with clients, you get referrals from the same type of pool of clients. And, spend as much time as you can with family, especially in times like this of COVID. COVID is a huge reset for people, I think, of how do you get back to being more present with your family, spending time with them, not spending time running from sport activity to sport activity. It's a real great lesson if you look at it that way. And I tend to be very optimistic with the glass half full all the time, but it really is a beautiful opportunity. Yes, it's different. It's not going to last forever, but neither will the origination that we're feeling right now. And, you know, take care of the people who are taking care of you, your processors, your underwriters, your assistants. Just have balance and have patience for them and give them the balance that they so much deserve too, because it's a hard time for a lot of people. You don't know what's going on in someone else's house. If their spouse has lost a job and they haven't communicated that to you, they may be the only wage earner. There's just so many moving parts and plates spinning right now for people. Embrace this and keep the balance between work and family or life and friends, because that's what's really important at the end of the day. And my motto has always been, and there's a book out of it, of do what you love and the money will follow. And I truly believe that. Take care of you and you can take care of everybody, but do what you love and be passionate about it, but also take care of the people on the other side too, because when you come out of it, you don't want to end up where your family life is falling apart, your origination life is so fantastic and you're the number one producer in the company, but your marriage is falling apart or your health has been sacrificed as a result.
That's right.
The rates aren't going anywhere, I don't think, next year. So go easy. Enjoy the holiday season for what it is. It'll all get done.
I totally agree. I definitely feel bad for a lot of the suffering that's gone on through this pandemic, but inside of, my world, inside of our industry, I think there's never been a better time, like you just spoke to, about doing well in business and having some balance, because it's kind of forced upon you. You can't, for a while there, you couldn't go have drinks with your friends. You couldn't go to restaurants. This whole period eliminated decision making. You're at home. For me, it's been a blessing. All the things I procrastinated with, I started working on and got a lot of stuff done over the last few months. Relationships never been better. Certainly the mortgage industry has been very, very good to us, and so I definitely feel blessed by this. I want COVID to, you know, be gone, because there is so much suffering in the world. But for me, it's been wonderful.